Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the most brutal movies ever made. We're going to have two separate picks each, and then we're going to share the number one spot.
So my first pick is 2006 Hills Have Eyes, directed by one of your favourite directors, the director I never know how to pronounce, Alexandra Asher. Is that right? Asher. Close enough.
This guy's awesome. I love this guy.
Yes. Anyway, so this film came out 2006. It's a remake of the 1977, I wouldn't say classic, but it's
Cult
a Wes Craven film. It shares the same name, same sort of setting, but they are very different movies. I think I might have seen the original when I was very young.
Yeah.
Don't remember liking it. It's an easy one to remake because there's plenty to improve. But anyway, This remake, 2006, it is proper brutal. It is on the same wave of these remakes with Dawn of the Dead, Texas Chainsaw, and a lot of people slag these remakes off. But there was a lot of good ones, especially your favourite one, The Fog. No, I'm joking. There was loads of shit ones, but there was good ones. It's got to be the worst. This one is a very similar premise. There's a family on a road trip. They're towing a caravan. There's a few vehicles, and they've got a baby. They've got the father-in-law and the new son-in-law, and he's got to kind of prove himself to the new father-in-law. He's an ex-cop, and he's very hard-ass. And they're driving through the desert, and they have car trouble. What they think is car trouble has been sabotaged, and they get hunted by these horrible hillbillies that have been living in the mountains. They're sort of changed because of radiation. But it is so brutal. The scene, I know what scene you're thinking of, the scene in the caravan where the girl gets blasted, the wife, and you forget how brutal a shotgun to the chest is in a film. You know what I mean? God. It's horrible.
It's that scene in Kill Bill.
Yes. Or when she blasts him, he blasts her,
when Michael Madsen blasts her.
Yeah. This film is horrible. Brilliant and horrible.
I am a huge fan of this movie. It's easily one of the best remakes out there. Yeah. And this one absolutely deserves to be on any brutal list. And I'll tell you why. So my girlfriend is very new to horror movies. When she got with me, she hadn't seen many. So for the last year, I've just been pumping everything I can into her, right? All the horror movies I possibly can. No pun intended.
It's not a euphemism.
And I haven't shown her Hills of Ice simply because I don't think she's ready, and I don't really want to show her that type of brutality.
Yeah.
But I haven't shown her Hills of Ice, but I have shown her my next pick last night in preparation for this video, and I made a bit of a mistake. So my first pick is 2012's Maniac, starring Elijah Wood, directed by Frank Colfon.
Another remake as well.
Another remake from an 80s cult classic. And funnily enough, Tom Savini did the original one. Greg Nicotero did the remake.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, like I said, I did show this one to my girlfriend last night, and it's 10 times rougher than Hills of Ice because of the subject matter.
It's horrible.
Elijah Wood plays this serial killer. He's got serious mommy issues, and he basically, the whole film is him stalking women, scalping them, and then bringing those women back to life by putting the scalp and the hair on his mannequins. And there's more brutal movies out there, and in terms of full-on gore, but this one is brutal because there's no escape from this guy, because it's all told from his point of view. The whole movie is POV from his eyes. There's one scene where you go out of it, but the whole film, you're stuck with this guy. There's no escape. There's no hero. There's no one to follow. There's no one to root for. You're just stuck in this guy's head. You're seeing his descent into madness. And the kills in there, like I said, he follows these women and he stalks them, scalps these women. You're seeing everything from his point of view, and it's extra rough. There's so many scenes in this movie that just make me feel uncomfortable, and that's the reason I wanted to include it, was because it isn't a movie I can go back to much. I think when I watched it last time, it was maybe the third time I watched it, but it's been out a long time, and I always go back and rewatch movies.
Oh, fuck yeah. I've seen it.
I mean, the opening scene is him stalking a woman back to her apartment, and then she gets a knife through the mouth. And the worst thing about that scene is that blood starts coming through her eye, and it's so realistic. So like I said, I haven't shown my girlfriend Hills Have Eyes, but for some reason I decided to show her this, and it didn't go down well. Well, there was a lot of looking away.
I'll tell you something, right? I've seen this once, and scalping goes through me. I hate it. It's one of the things I remember mostly about one of the Saw films, when there's a machine that de-scalps that girl.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But I watched this film years ago on Christmas Day. In the night, not Christmas morning. Come on, kids, gather round.
I know. What were you thinking, Jenks? Have you seen the original?
No, I haven't. And my friend was round, and I thought, let's stick this horror film on, Elijah Wood. How bad can it be? She was like, Jesus Christ.
It's nasty. And what's even more brutal about it is that it is Elijah Wood, and you think of this guy, you think of Lord of the Rings, Flipper, loads of these Flipper, even Faculty, it's a really fun, bright horror movie. There's nothing nasty about it, so it's even more brutal when you have to see Elijah Wood carry out these acts. And sometimes it's not even the brutal scenes, it's him on his own, scrubbing his hands with a Brillo pad, and you can see all the cuts.
And the noise.
The noise is him screaming into the mirror and crying for his mother. And it is by far one of the most brutal movies ever made. When you're talking about hard to watch, now Brain Dead is 10 times more brutal than this in terms of gore.
But it's tongue-in-cheek.
This is really taxing to watch. Yes. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because I would recommend The Hills Have Eyes. It's on Disney Plus. But I wouldn't recommend. I know Disney Plus next to
a sentence you never thought you'd say
next to Toy Story. But I wouldn't recommend Maniac.
No, I'm not recommending this one, but I'm recommending it to the people that like those type of movies.
Yes.
But this one was produced by Alexandra Aja as well. He's a rough guy. Yeah. Okay,
right. My next pick. I think this is the most disturbing, brutal film I've ever watched. Even though we're sharing the next one, this affected me, and it's irreversible. It came out 2001. Now I'm going to butcher the director's name. It's a French film. I cannot pronounce French names, and it's Gaspard Noel. Who knows? Something like that. Anyway. If I do a French accent, that's solves it, isn't it?
It counts for something, at least.
It's 2001. It stars Monica Bellucci and Vincent Cassel, and it's got a great cast.
Vincent Cassel from Guest House Paradiso.
Yeah. So it's very much like Memento. So everything's in reverse. So each scene, the last scene is at the start, and the start's at the end, and each scene seems like it's one take. So they're long scenes. Now, there are hidden cuts that I've read up on, but it feels like you're watching one take. And it's about a woman gets brutally raped, and the husband goes for revenge. So at the aftermath's at the start, and then their life is being unfolded, all the good stuff at the end. It's really hard to watch, because the way it ends is how it's quite happy, and it's like, but it is so brutal. I don't want to go into too much detail, because the brutal stuff is the obvious horrible stuff I just mentioned. But so that's the brutal part. The revenge is very violent. But the reason that I put this on the list more so than anything else is that after watching it, I couldn't shake the film off. I felt uneasy for about 2 weeks. And I remember telling my wife at the time, I said, I can't shake this film off. I just feel strange. And then years later, I Wikipedia'd the film, and it said that the director had used subtle strobe lights to induce anxiety, like being hypnotized. And I was like, oh my God, I completely experienced that, because it wasn't like a placebo. I didn't know that he'd done it. And I remember thinking, I don't feel right. And now that everyone knows, I've ruined it now, because everyone's going, oh, I felt it. But I wouldn't recommend this film, and I would recommend it. It's a masterpiece and horrifying at the same time.
Yeah, I've never watched it. It's been on my radar for a few years now. I think you might have mentioned it to
Yeah.
me a fair while back. I want to watch it, but it's definitely not a film that I'm like itching to watch. Like, I need to go out and get this film and watch it straight away.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I need to experience. I think it's probably the only grim movie I haven't seen now, to be honest. But yeah, it's got to be on my list at some point.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, my next pick. Now, I think this is the movie that affected me the most. This is one I like but dislike at the same time. It just makes me feel horrible. And it's 2007's Inside, directed by Alexandra Bastillo and Julian Maury. I did it right with those ones.
French, everyone's always French directors.
Yeah. French extremists. It's such a simple premise. It's about, it starts with a car crash and a woman loses her baby in the car crash. Now, the woman that went into her, we follow her now. She's the main character. We cut to sometime later. She's pregnant herself. And the woman who she crashed into comes back into her life. And it's all set on one night inside the main antagonist. I didn't look up her name. I can't remember her name. We've got the main antagonist who's now pregnant, the woman who ran into her with her car. And she's at home alone at night, pregnant. And this woman who she crashed into comes for revenge. And, oh my God, it is one of the nastiest movies you'll ever see. And not just because an excessive amount of gore, there is a lot. It's because of how dark and low budget this movie is. It feels really real. It feels like a snuff movie. It feels like this is an event that's happening and some guy has managed to sneak in there undetected with a camera and he's just filming it all. But it is one of the most uncomfortable movies I've ever watched. I've seen it once, about 4 years ago, and I haven't gone back to it yet because it really did affect me because there's so much horrible imagery in this movie. It's just, I would not recommend this movie.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't.
I know you've been telling me about it, and there's a remake as well.
Yes, there is a remake. No one here is good. I've seen the remake. It's awful. Same as the Martyrs remake. You just can't remake these French horror movies. They're just not built for remakes. But there's a scene in particular which scarred me for life. And there's I don't want to give too much away, but there's a guy who comes over the house and he's unaware that there's another woman lurking. And he's walking up the stairs, and she stabs him like up his gooch with a knife, with a scissors. Oh my God! Just thinking of it now. Yes, I hope I haven't given too much away from this one. That is the basic plot and one gore scene.
Are you going to play that clip when we release this video of scissors going up somebody's?
I'll play the build up, and then like I did when we spoke about Misery. As soon as she hits him with the sledgehammer, I cut it. Because I don't want anyone else to go through that. So it'll be a quick and then off. But this one is a really nasty film. I will say, if you like a Serbian film, you're going to like this one. It's not as nasty as that movie, but it's definitely a rough watch.
Yes. I haven't seen Serbian film, particularly because that's why it's not on this list, because I don't want to watch something like that.
Yeah, I have no interest in watching that movie.
Right, so our last pick is a shared pick, and I don't like this film, but I have seen it about 3 times.
You always say that.
I know. It's 2011's Human Centipede 2. Now, number 1 is just a normal sort of horror with an interesting premise. It's not as good as I remember it. I tried to watch it again the other day, and I switched it off. It's quite crap. But number 2 is awful. It stars a guy called Lawrence Harvey. Not a good actor. And he's just this like short, fat, bald, asthmatic loser who works. He has got a crap job, crap life. And he's obsessed with the movie Human Centipede. And he wants to recreate it. And he wants to make his own centipede of 12 people. Is it 12? I'm sure it is.
I think so, yeah.
And it's black and white, so it's very realistic, but it's just overly violent for the sake of violence, isn't it?
Oh, it's a horrible movie. I've seen it once when it came out. I've got the special edition steelbook, which I bought a few years ago, just because I'm a collector. But I've watched it once when it came out, and as much as we are both fans of horror movies, sometimes it is just too much, and that's why I love Evil Dead. That's why I love Brain Dead, all these fun gore movies, because it's still escapism. You can still go and watch these movies and have fun. There is no fun to be had in this movie. No. It is just flat out nasty. The premise, like the first one, is horrible, but it's taken to another level. And Lawrence Harvey, he is just made of nightmares. I heard that he walked into the audition room and they went, "You've got the part." He said no lines, nothing. They just went, "You've got the part." He literally came off the streets.
Yeah.
And they went, "Oh my God, this is the guy for the film." And in all fairness, they picked the right guy. He's horrible.
Yeah, he can't
Those
act,
scenes at home with his mother when he's in his white pants.
Yeah.
It's just so unsettling and horrible. And I met Lawrence Harvey not long after maybe the second one came out, and he was such a miserable guy. I caught him outside having a fag, so I was chatting to him and I said, "Oh mate, any chance I can get a photo?" And he's like, £10. I was like, "I'm not giving you 10 for a photo outside while you're having a fag." I haggled him down to a £5 then, because I thought I want a photo with a guy because this movie is so polarising.
Yeah.
So I ended up giving this guy, he was on the streets, I gave him a £5 for a photo.
That's crap.
Mental. But yeah, back to the film. There's one scene in particular, I don't want to go into too much detail, that just destroyed this movie for me. And what I mean is, it was way too far. It's when the pregnant woman escapes and the baby comes out while she's driving, and I'll just say it goes under the pedal.
And
I was like, no. Like I said, as much as I love horror, sometimes too much is too much. I'm not a psychopath, you know?
Yeah, for me, see, because it was such a brutal film, and I saw a pregnant woman, I thought, oh, and then the pregnant woman escapes. I thought, oh, she's going to be the hero. I felt better. Nope. The baby comes out, and it just gets splattered. And I was like,
it's horrible.
Well, this is just like, I call it like torture porn, but it's
100%.
It's worse, much worse.
Look, there's entertainment in Saw.
Yeah.
They've got great characters, really inventive, cool kills.
Yes.
And that can still be classed as entertainment. Hostel borders a little bit closer to just torture porn, but then this is ridiculous. Like you said about you think this pregnant woman's going to be the hero, is Train to Busan's a brutal movie, people die, but I felt comfort the first time watching it going, I know that kid is going to survive. There's no harm's going to come to this kid. There needs to be some boundaries, like. Do you know what I mean? And
it's like the big problem is the version we're talking about is the uncut version. Now, there are versions out there that, so the pregnant woman jumps in the car and drives off. And because I was showing it to somebody, I was like, oh, they cut it out. But I think in Australia you can still watch the full version. I'm sure you can find it somewhere. But the amount of violence in this film, stitching people's faces to asses, like the first film, he's a doctor. He's kind of like knows what he's doing to a certain degree. He understands.
There's anaesthetic.
Yeah, and this is just some bum. But I want to say what happens in the end but it's an old film. I'm going to say what happens. I can give a spoiler away.
Yeah, go on.
It's all in the end. It's all in his mind. He just imagined it all. He's watching the first movie, and he was just like, so none of that happened. This is a piece of shit. And he's in the third one, the guy is. And he has to actually act in that. And he's awful. The fucking third one is one of the worst
I've never
films.
seen the third one. I had no interest in watching it.
Yeah, anyway.
Absolutely no interest.
I wouldn't recommend this film. It's shit. And too brutal. Yeah.
I'm with you. Like I said, we're usually doing lists, right? And we're recommending you movies. So what's the best brutal movies out there? I've kind of gone for picks that have made me feel too uncomfortable to truly enjoy. Now, I think Inside and Maniac are really good films, but very uncomfortable. Human Centipede 2 is just brutal for all the wrong reasons. It's a crap film.
Yes, I definitely recommend Hills Have Eyes as well. It's on Disney Plus. I'm not affiliated with Disney Plus. Right, if you enjoy horror movies, rankings, please subscribe and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.